Hello, everyone. My name is Freedom Budgets, and I'm here with my very first video. I'm so excited. Okay, so this video is about setting goals and how to figure out which goals are the ones that we should be targeting. I am a newly graduated doctor. I'm getting ready to start my new job in a couple of months. I'm going through the onboarding process with the hospital right now. And I wanted to give back during this time that I have off, and so I decided to make this YouTube channel. I realized as I've gone through this time between when I graduated and when my job starts that I, despite all that I've been taught, do not know how to budget. And it just goes to show that it's not necessarily about knowledge, but about creating good habits. So I've started down a process of fixing my bad money habits, because for those that do well with a little, much will be given. And I want to get on the right track so that way when I start my new job, I will be doing the things I need to be doing. And as I've been going through this process, I wanted to create something that could help other people. I'm going to be giving all of this stuff away for free. Any forms that you see, guides, they will all be accessible through this YouTube channel. You'll be able to download them and use them as well. So let's get started. The very first thing that I wanted to show you guys is this freedom goals. So my YouTube channel is named Freedom Budgets because in order to get to a state of financial freedom, it's really paid by budgeting, knowing where your money's going and having it work for you instead of wondering where it's going and where it's gone. Goals brainstorming is broken down into 5 separate parts. I made this kind of thinking through what's the process that I've gone through when I have had to decide what I wanted to do with my life and where I was going and what I wanted to make for my next steps. And so sometimes I start in the short term and kind of then imagine my way to the long term. Sometimes I start the long term and I kind of think backwards to where I want to be in a year in order to get me to that 20-year goal. And 20 years is just an average. It's just a number that's in the future. Whatever you put for, your 20 years, your 10 years, even your 5 years or your 1 year, it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly what happens. You don't have to feel like you're a failure if you decide to make a pivot. This is just for you to really just think about where you want to put your energies. And you're going to learn a lot over time. And so this future that you're moving towards is going to morph and shape over time. I want you to think big here. I don't want you to think about, what are the realities of your day-to-day life right now, because those realities aren't going to be here in 20 years. So for me, going through this process, I really started here in the 3-month area. I was frustrated looking at our budget once we didn't have as much money coming in because I had ended my last job while waiting for this new job to start. And so I really wanted to get to a point where I can say for certain that I have taken control of my budget. And I want to get to the point where I can start making progress and paying off my debts. In 1 year, I want all of my commercial debt to be paid off. That's excluding my student loans, but really focusing on those things. I call it petty debt, things like credit cards, The reason why I call it petty debt is because it's really the only form of debt where, even things as little as a bag of chips that you may have bought are contributing towards the debt because you use your credit card to buy them. And, maybe there was a big life event that caused you to have leftover credit debt at the end of the month. But it all kind of combines those really little things and those bigger things. And you still got to pay it off, and it's all still collecting interest. And then my next goal in the next year is to have a mostly paid off car note. In 5 years, of course, car paid off over $100,000 saved. And then in 10 years, we're thinking big. We're just really trying to come up with, where exactly do I want to be? What kind of path do I want to be on? And so I want to be someone who is saving their money well and investing it well. So I want to have over $1 million saved in 10 years. Maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't, but that's what I'm working towards. And then in 20 years, I want to have greater than $5 million saved. I feel like I have to say it like that, $1 million, because it just seems like this fantastical number. Okay, and so these are my freedom goals. Every 3 months or so, I can reassess, adjust. Of course, this will change because this is a more frequent thing that changes. These may stay the same, maybe they'll change. If you're someone who's older, maybe in 20 years, instead of having more money saved, you want to be comfortably retired. And so you'll be using more money than you're bringing in at that point. So again, this is really just to think about, where am I working towards? So we've had this opportunity to just think about where it is we want to be, not worrying about the hard numbers or anything. Now we are going to get a little bit of a reality check. And so that's not to say that we can't do those goals, but we need to figure out where we are so we can make that bridge between where we are and where we want to be. And so there's this form that I have. It's a net worth form. You calculate your net worth, and again, this is your financial net worth. Your actual worth as a person is immeasurable. But this is what all financial people use to assess how much money a person has. And so there's actually this really cool FDIC calculator, and it gives you all of the different categories for assets. Of course, there's things like, how much money you have in your bank account, how much money you have in investments, and even things like if you have family heirlooms, antiques, how much are those worth for the value if you were to sell them today? If you have a car, what's the retail value of that car today? Not what you paid for it, but what is it actually worth today? Which is why you want to date this. So we'll just say 2023. And surprisingly, I don't know why, but in my mind, when I thought of assets, I thought your income contributed to assets. If I bring in, $50,000 a year, I automatically have $50,000 in assets, and then I just subtract the liabilities. But no, the only money that you bring in that counts towards assets is the money that you keep and the money that you have put into things that are still considered to have value today. I really recommend everyone go to this FDIC calculator. If you download my PDF, you'll be able to just click the link and it will automatically take you there. They also have some really great smart money tools as well. And you'll be able to directly access that information. I'll also leave these links down in the description box. if I can figure out how to do that. It's my first YouTube video. Anyway, so once you come up with all of your assets, then you're going to subtract all of your liabilities. So liabilities are your petty debts, like credit card debts. They're going to be, your car loans, home loans that you still have to pay off, and other things like student loan debt. So all of those things go into your liabilities. And then once you subtract your liabilities from your assets, you'll come up with your final net worth. I did this off screen because I needed a break after I found out that number and really went through like the sobering information, having gone through all of the schooling that I've gone through and then collected, a little bit of my own share of petty debts. I was net negative 6 figures, like roughly $100,000. And excuse this, excuse my handwriting. I wanted you all to have something cute to look at, so I put on these nails. These nails, I have never had nails like this. I showed my sister, who's really supportive of me making these videos, these nails, and she said, "Where are you going with them nails looking like that?" I was like, "I'm making videos. They need something to look at." Budgeting is not the most fun thing, so I wanted you guys to have something sparkly. Okay, so now that we figured out where we are, maybe you are net negative like I am. Maybe you have a net positive, but it's not exactly where you want it to be at this point in your life. Next, we're going to think up some SMART goals. So what are SMART goals? SMART goals are, this is an acronym. Oops. And so with the PDF, you're going to have, this information already provided for you, as well as, oh goodness, these nails. This form to fill out and kind of practice generating these SMART goals. So for your SMART goals, you want it to be S specific. What exactly is it that you want to achieve? Saving more money, okay, but how much money do you want saved? So like when I said, at my 10-year mark, I want to have $1 million. I said greater than 1 million, so that's not even very specific. But you want to say exactly how much you want to achieve. So let's say if I had $5,000 in student loan debt that I wanted to have paid off, then I would say I want to have $5,000 of student loan paid off. Who is involved or responsible? So, I am married, so even as I give examples and talk about things that are specific to me, when I am actually kind of going through the process of changing how we spend as a household, so we have to be teammates hand in hand and actually making change happen. Next, it needs to be measurable. So how will you track your progress? Money things are nice because they're very objective, but some other things are a little more nebulous. So maybe in order to get to your financial goals, you identify that you need to, get into a good school for like law school. So if that's one of your things that you're working towards in order to get to your ultimate goal, then, how exactly are you going to track your progress towards a good law degree or a good vocational school? And then what are going to be your key performance indicators? So, with being a good doctor, there are a lot of different things that go into good performance as a doctor. You need to have knowledge about the disease. You need to know how to talk to people. In terms of your patients, you need to know how to talk to your fellow colleagues, including the staff that work in your office. And you need to know how to talk quote unquote doctor language, but you also need to know how to break things down for the everyday person. And then how will you know when your goal is accomplished? So when you're younger, a lot of your goals are based off of things that are really easy to know. If you've done well, maybe you're in school, you get the good grade or you don't get the good grade. You're in sports, you're starter or you're not starter. as you get older, you're really making these goals without having someone objectively tell you you're doing well or you're not doing well. So you really need to know when you've actually accomplished your goals. Next, you want to know, is your goal achievable? So if I said I wanted to make $1 million by the end of the year, if God wants to give it to me, please do. But that's not super duper realistic. What are things that you can realistically do? Because if you give yourself too high of a mountain to climb, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to keep doing the things that you need to do to make any progress, because the mountain that you have to climb is just too large. What steps or actions are you going to be able to reach, or will you take to reach that goal? So when you come up with these goals, we're going to further break them down into actionable steps in order to make sure that this goal truly is achievable. And then, do you have the necessary skills and support? This is so, so important. So like with coming up with this first YouTube video, I was telling my sister all about how I wanted to start budgeting and the cash system, and how even though I didn't have a lot of experience with the cash system, I really wanted to share with other people all the things that I've learned, as well as just those things that I've learned in other areas of my life that make me confident now that I can also learn this new thing, which is making a budget and sticking to it to reach my financial goals using the cash envelope system or cash stuffing system. And then, is it relevant? So does the goal actually align with your priorities? This is such a huge thing. No matter what career you're in, there's going to be lots of people getting shine for this or that. And it may not even be things that you want for yourself, but because everyone else is like, oh wow, they have this, oh wow, they've gotten that, you're gonna think that, oh, I haven't done what I need to do. But those aren't even things that align with your priorities. They're not things that you actually want to do. So you really want to make sure that these things that you say you're working towards in the short term, they actually align with your priorities. And then, will it contribute to your long-term success and growth? And is now the right time to pursue this goal? Timing, again, is so important. Sometimes you're going to start towards a goal, and you're going to realize you're going to have to pause that progress for sometimes a few months, maybe even a year, as you then focus on something that's a higher priority of yours. You can have every single thing that you want in this life for the most part, but you can't necessarily do it all at once. So you really want to make sure you're prioritizing the right goals. And then it should be time bound. So you should have a goal and a due date for each step of that goal, as well as the final achievement. So if you download my PDF, you'll have the opportunity to print out multiple pages for each goal that you have. And you can brainstorm, when you come up with your final goal, what is the part about it that makes it specific, makes it measurable, makes it achievable, makes it relevant, and makes it time bound. So, okay. So for my first 3 month, oh goodness, these nails. Okay. So my first 3 month goal was I wanted to be in control of my budget. And I also said that I wanted to start making progress in paying off debt. And so, since our budget overall is smaller, it's harder for us to make big progress in a short period of time. So at the end of these 3 months, the way I'm going to know that I take control of my budget, what does that even mean? So be specific. That means paying bills on time. And I think that's a good first step. But I think even more specific, I want to say I want to pay my bills at least 2 weeks early. By the end of 3 months, I think I can have, half a month's worth of bill money prepared earlier. So then it's not such a surprise when bills become due. I want to just cut down on the drama. So we're going to say pay bills 2 weeks early. Measurable. So how am I going to measure this? With a calendar. I'm going to mark when a bill is due and when I paid it. And then, is it achievable? So, am I making enough money to pay all my bills in the first place? Yes. Are we making enough in order to save a little bit more each week? That way we can start to get bills paid a little bit earlier. Also, yes. So, yes, it's achievable. Okay, and is it relevant? Being able to pay my bills early means that I'm not living as much paycheck to paycheck. My husband gets paid once a week. Right now, I have some money that's coming in once every 2 weeks, and then soon I'll be paid once a month. And this is definitely relevant. And then finally, time bound. So I want to reach this milestone in 3 months. Awesome. So take control of my budget, pay bills 2 weeks early. So it matches everything in our SMART goals. Next, we have this next SMART goal sheet. So we took everything from this, which really helped us zoom in on one goal and figure out how to assess if our goal is a SMART goal. Now we're going to take multiple goals and list them out succinctly. Our goal is take control of budget by paying bills 2 weeks early over next 3 months. So it's okay if next week I'm not already paying bills 2 weeks early, but I want to make sure that by the end of this 3-month period, I am in a habit where I'm now paying bills 2 weeks early. So action steps. 1, make a calendar with payday and bill due date. The next thing I want to do is get to the point where I am making bill payments on the day they are due. This is a bad habit I picked up during med school, honestly, and it only got worse in residency. I'm always forgetting when my bills are due. They almost all are set up for automatic payments, which is fine. It's kept me out of trouble because it's hard for me to remember as I'm kind of going through and focusing on other things. But if I'm more organized, it's not that difficult to remember when my bill payments are due, and keep track of the money that I have coming in and what's going to be coming out. And as I more consistently am able to pay bills earlier, I can even change those automatic due dates to being 2 weeks earlier, once I feel confident that I can do this month after month. So first we want to make a calendar, fill it in with the information of bill due date and our paydays. And then next we want to make bill payments on the day that they are due consistently. And then make bill payments 1 week early since we do have some money coming in on a weekly basis, and then finally make bill payments 2 weeks early. And so I really could have jumped the gun and said, I'm gonna start getting my bills a whole month ahead. But realistically, knowing the amount of money we have coming in versus the amount of money we have coming out just for bills, since we were used to having more money than what we have now, it would not be realistic for me. Over a 3-month period, I think that I could potentially get to paying bills off 1 month early, but if that did happen, it would be a bonus. I feel really confident that I can get to 2 weeks early. And so the milestones are this, this, and this. And then 2 weeks early times 1 month. Okay, and so you'll just do that for each goal that you've set. You're going to fill this out for multiple goals. And the reason why you want to do this is you really want to kind of think through and kind of have some practice with creating SMART goals, figuring out what the action steps are, figuring out what the milestones are. But Rome wasn't built in a day, so you're not going to pick all 3 goals. You're not going to do all of these at once. It's too much to take on at once. So once you've had some practice with thinking through SMART goals, we're coming over here and we're kind of pulling back another layer. So we've really come up with a plan for how we're going to attack this SMART goal of paying bills 2 weeks early. Now we're really going to hammer down and we're going to reflect and analyze how we're going to ultimately make it to our goal. What are some of the strengths that we have that are going to contribute to our success? And what are some of the changes that we need to make? So financial goal is pay bills 2 weeks early. So all those other sheets were really just kind of building your muscles and your ability to create these SMART goals. This is really going to go deeper and help you to actually increase your likelihood of actually sticking with this plan. And so this is really the sheet that you're going to come back to frequently throughout this, for me, 3-month period as I work towards this goal. We are going to do a lot of work in the beginning. We're going to do work throughout the 3 months on this sheet. And then once it's done, we're actually going to come back and we're going to reflect. So the deadline is going to be, it's October, so November, December, January. Deadline is January. We'll say January. It's almost Halloween, honestly. So November, December, January. We'll say January 30th. The new year is going to throw off some stuff, so we'll just say January 30th. Start date is October. October 25th. Okay. And so our action steps, we are just going to repeat those action steps that we already mentioned. The due date for the calendar is today. The due date for making bill payments on the day that they are due is going to be the 1 month mark, let's say. So we'll say that by I cannot write with these nails on, so we're just gonna make a little blurb to kind of let us know what we're talking about. So paying on due date, that's going to be November 25th. Pay 1 week early, that is going to be December 25th. And then pay 2 weeks early is going to be January 25th. And so the plan. This is a rather simple goal that I have, but here, if you had a more complex goal, you can kind of really think about, what is your overall plan? Especially if these action steps need further explanation. Maybe you need to reach out to a mentor, which means you also need to select a mentor and kind of what that selection process would look like. Maybe you need to get an advanced degree or additional training. What does that look like? So pay bills 2 weeks early. By saving money each week, using cash stuffing method. Okay. And then this is so important, your motivation. If you don't know what's motivating you, the second something comes up that's fun, that is another high priority for you, you're going to abandon any type of change that you're making. So my motivation is my faith. I truly believe that as you receive blessings, like I've received so many blessings, it's our duty to also be good stewards of those blessings and give back. You can't give back if you don't have enough for yourself and your family first. So in order for me to really be a benefit for my greater community, I need to get my budget in order. My other motivation is I want to show my family and those who look up to me how to budget. We always, when you, how do I put this? The way you interact with money is often a reflection of how your family operates with money. And so I've always had enough. I've been very blessed in that. But I've never been able to really go forward and make it so that I'm not pulling from the money that I'm actively have coming in order to do the thing that I want to do now. And that's kind of how we grew up, We pulled from what was coming in this month for what we wanted to do this month. And I want to live a different life moving forward. I thank my family for all that they've done for me. I couldn't have gotten to where I've gotten without them. And they did what they thought was right and best for us in that situation. I thank them for that. I'm just choosing a different path for myself. And what are the potential obstacles? I like to spend money. Y'all, my Amazon cart. I literally just put stuff in Amazon carts just to see it in there, even if I'm not gonna buy it. I like to spend money. And so that's something I'm gonna have to break. And I am also a doodler, if you cannot tell. But the other obstacles are going to be unexpected. Costs. And so that's where things like sinking funds come in. Because of the amount of debt that I have, I'm not really going to be putting a ton of money into a sinking fund until I start to make some headway with my debts first. But that's something that I need to be aware of, that there are going to be some unexpected costs. And I really need to, with my husband, think through, okay, how are we going to handle that if that happens without going into more debt, and without dipping into the savings and investments that we've already had set aside. And that's really because that's really a conversation that has to happen, within my family unit. It's not something that I'm going to completely do on my own. I'm just one person and we have a whole family, even if it's just my husband and my dog and me. But because we are a family unit, this needs to be a family conversation. So habits I'd like to continue. Even though I like to spend money, I don't like giving away my money when it's in cash form. Dollar bills. And so that's why I really gravitated towards this idea of the cash stuffing method when I first heard about it. And then I am capable. Just because you've never done something in the past does not mean that you cannot do it in the future. And the fact that I have that outlook in life means that I am more likely to succeed than if I said I can't do it, I've never done it, and it will never happen. No, I say I can do it and I am capable. Habits I need to break. Emotional spending. Emotional spending. And then a big one for me is buying fancy things in the grocery store. I like my fancy stuff. It's okay to have those things when they've already been budgeted for, but impulse buying of fancy things has gotten me with grocery bills where, like, that day I spent $50 more than I planned to spend. And don't get me started on Costco. I could spend $100 more than I planned to spend. Okay, so we have thought about, our whys. What's the thing that's pushing us forward? Oh yeah, and finally, I want to be a rich lady. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. So we talked about those unexpected costs. So a lot of times when we mention unexpected costs, growing up, they're not that unexpected. So in reaching our financial goals, one of the things we need to do is think about what are those expenses that are coming up during the year. So we're right here in October. December, we got Christmas coming up. We have Thanksgiving. We have in January, New Year's. All of these have costs associated with them. And for you, if you cook Thanksgiving meals at home, this is going to be higher. We're traveling to our family's houses for Thanksgiving to spend some time with them. Christmas, traditionally, while I've been in med school and while I've been in residency, because I didn't make that much relative to all the fees and things I had to pay, I really just gave Christmas gifts to my husband, my parents. So I don't have that many people I'm giving Christmas gifts to. If you have a big family, there's expectation that, you know, cousins and nieces and nephews are getting things. Your Christmas budget, of course, is going to be bigger. New Year's, traveling to see family again this New Year's. I think my husband and I will probably go to his church, or our church, but the church he grew up with as a child. For the first time in years, they have like a nighttime church ceremony to ring in the New Year. So I think we may try to do that. In February, we're going to have Valentine's Day. This is going to be the first time in years I don't have a crazy resident budget, or not budget, but schedule. You know, sometimes I've been working nights, something on Valentine's Day. So I'm really excited for my husband and I to be able to go to have like a dinner and do something nice for ourselves. And then January is my husband's B-Day. Okay, July is my B-Day. And then Sissy's B-Day, my sister. And then September, Mom. July, Dad. September, anniversary. Okay. And then there's a few more things coming up. So in terms of like things for my job I have to buy, when I start working in December, I'm gonna eventually end up paying for an AAP, which is American Academy of Pediatrics. They have dues. I paid for a lot of licenses over the last few months, and they're good for 3 years, so I shouldn't have anything there. We will unfortunately need to buy a car probably sometime in February, give or take a month, but we'll say February. Our car engine suddenly just no longer engined. We have a Ford Escape. Those that know what the issues are. We very quickly went from having a perfectly functioning car to having one that can't be driven down the street, even though it's only 6 years old. Still a little salty about that, so we got to buy a new car. I want to get some of our finances in order first, and actually I think that might be too optimistic. Probably sometime in May, hopefully. We have a replacement car, but it's not one that we want to be driving for a long time. It's really just to get us to a point where we're more financially stable and can make a more fiscally sound car purchase in the near future. Okay. Upcoming expenses. So we talked about my career stuff, some home stuff. A big one is going to be health stuff. Okay, so in January, I'm probably gonna have some dental stuff. No, January probably. I'm also going to have some personal health stuff. All of this combined probably going to be like 3 figures, but I do want to keep it on my radar that that's also something that's coming up. And so from these upcoming expenses, you can decide what you want your sinking funds to be. And so this is why this process is so important. I mentioned before, I'm probably not going to really start adding to my sinking funds until I've made some more headway with my debts that I already have. I want to get ahead of my bills over the next few months, but starting around in December, January, I'm also going to start paying off some debts. But then I have this personal health stuff that really I shouldn't be pushing off anymore. I've already started making some of these appointments and they are overdue. So even though I would rather be putting more money towards ads, I need to make sure that my body is in good shape because I plan to live to be 115. If you know, you know. So I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself. And so from this, we can fill out our sinking funds. We've done a ton today. If you have never made SMART goals, if you have never looked at your net worth, if you have never thought about long-term what it even is that you want to do, all of this can be a lot to take in. So I'm not actually going to fill out the sinking funds now. We're going to come back later. We're going to talk about sinking funds. We're going to talk about how I've been doing with my cash stuffing so far. I hope that you guys learned a lot. I hope that you are able to take those forms that I've made for you guys and use it to really build the future that you want. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. I could do this in the dark, in my corner, next to my window, and have my cute little space and not talk about it. We love not talking about money in this society. But instead, I opened up for you guys because I wanted you all to know that you can reach your goals. Reaching your goals and having a life that you love and that is better than you could ever dream. It's not for other people. It is for you if you want it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.